mysterious sea creature was just spotted off the coast of North Carolina, and it's got a lot of people scratching their heads.
Is that a hair?
This is a carryover of something that should have been dead 65 million years ago.
The vast expanse of the ocean is teeming with bizarre and fascinating creatures. The good news? Most of these unusual or nightmarish beings stay hidden beneath the surface, far from our view. Thankfully, cameras allow us to witness their strange beauty and mystery without getting too close. From the vibrant Christmas tree worms to eerie encounter with unidentified sea creature, here are 20 mysterious underwater beings caught on tape. Number 20. Christmas tree worm. When you picture worms, you imagine slithery, slimy, and tiny snake-like critters hanging out in the dirt. But the Christmas tree worm is much, much different. It's all in the name, really. They look like little, tiny pine trees that grow up to 1.5 inches long and are approximately the same in diameter. They weigh mere ounces, and most don't actually grow longer than 1 inch. They are tiny. Christmas tree worms have 2 crowns coming out of their tube-like bodies, which are made up of radiolets. The radiolets are appendages that resemble hair coming out of the worm's spine. They can be a range of bright colors like yellow, blue, white, red, and orange, and they use them to catch their food. Interestingly, the worms are mostly sedentary. Same, actually. They don't have the appendages they would need for swimming, so they settle their little worm bodies on a piece of coral. The coral then grows around the worm to form a tube. Most Christmas tree worms can live up to 40 years, but that would be in an unpolluted environment. We all know what we've done, so most live between 10 to 20 years due to a combination of climate change and predators. These interesting little critters can mostly be found in shallow waters under 100 feet deep in tropical oceans between the Caribbean Sea and the Indo-Pacific Ocean. Number 19. Peacock mantis shrimp. The peacock mantis shrimp could easily be described as one of the most beautiful and mesmerizing sea creatures. Just like the peacock bird, they're brightly colored, and this coloring makes them desirable additions to people's home aquariums. Peacock mantis shrimp live on coral reefs and sand flats of the Indo-Pacific Ocean and stand out for their blue, green, red, and yellow coloring. However, the females tend to be redder than any other color. But don't let their beauty fool you. You would not want to mess with them. They are incredibly powerful hunters and feast on fish and hard-shelled invertebrates. When they want to break apart their shelled prey, they just perform a fast punch with their front appendages, and it's game over for their lunch. Their punches are so powerful that they could even break through aquarium glass. So you know that snails, shrimps, crabs, and other crustaceans simply don't stand a chance. They're believed to be the most colorful and largest mantis shrimp species, which definitely contributes to their desirability with aquarium owners. However, more experienced aquarium owners prefer not to have them because they just eat the other invertebrates and fish in their tanks. Number 18. Colossal squid. You would be pretty terrified if you came across a colossal squid in the ocean. Also known as the Antarctic squid, they grow up to 1,091 pounds, with a maximum length of up to 46 feet. They also have the largest eyes of any known creature. All the better to see you with, my dear. The colossal squid shares many features with other squid species, like 8 arms, 2 tentacles, 2 fins, 1 pair of gills, and a head. However, there are a few that make it stand out from the crowd. For example, they have swiveling or 3-pointed hooks on their arms or tentacles, which most other species don't have. Their eyes are also much larger than most other species. It's believed that they live in quite a large area, from the north of Antarctica to the south of South America and South Africa, and the very southern tip of New Zealand. There's also a hotspot area between the Crozet Archipelago and the Weddell Sea. Researchers aren't really sure about their feeding behavior, but it's thought that they feast on smaller squid and large fish. The Antarctic toothfish is also believed to make up a core part of their diet. Most people won't see a colossal squid in person, but you can view 2 specimens of them at the Museum of New Zealand Te Papa Tongarewa in Wellington, New Zealand. Number 17. Anglerfish. The anglerfish has a face only a mother could love. This ambush predator fish, also known as the humpback anglerfish or deep-sea anglerfish, is a terrifying-looking, medium-sized fish that you'll find in the open ocean's bathypelagic zone. This means it lives deep down at around 6,600 feet, so most people will never see one in real life. They live their entire lives without any sunlight, and they definitely look like they don't get any. It's believed that most of their features relate to their living environment and the challenges they face within it. For example, their massive mouths, giant stomachs, and incredibly long and pointy teeth all relate to their eating opportunities, as suitable prey can be hard to come by. They can open their mouths wide just to eat anything and everything they find to sustain themselves. Anglerfish also have a lure to attract their prey, which contains bacteria they can use to light it up and improve their chances of a snack. They can choose to show this lure or not by positioning their muscular skin flap over the top or pushing it back. When they move their lure back and forth, Prey like fish and pelagic crustaceans typically come closer out of curiosity and are subsequently eaten. However, the females, which are the only anglerfish to have the lures, also use them to attract mates. The male anglerfish are much smaller than them and are not predatory. Instead, they just latch onto females with their teeth and fertilize their eggs. Many of them then become parasitic and never leave her. They just feed on her blood and become her baby maker for life. Number 16. Box crab. Box crabs are definitely not like most other crabs you'll see, and their name comes from their looks. They have 4 concealed pairs of walking legs set underneath a rounded, dome-like body with wing-like extensions on the side. They also have broad and flat claws that they hold like shields to protect the front of them. Their claws, in addition to the extensions, give them their box-like shape and ultimately their name. Most box crabs are found on sandy patches of coral reefs and sandy flats. They spend most of their days buried in the sand, leaving only their respiratory openings and sensory structures open to the surface. However, when they're hungry, they walk out in the open and forage for snails. They range in size from 3 to 6 inches wide, and there's a smaller 2-horned box crab that only grows up to 2.5 inches. But their size doesn't disadvantage them because they can hold their own against predators and easily find food. They protect their heads while eating with their large, flattened claws, which are also specialized tools for eating snails. They're like the Swiss Army knife of the ocean. Now it's time for today's topic. A group of seasoned Mexican fishermen, accustomed to hunting sharks in the vast open ocean, recently ventured into deeper waters off the Gulf of California. Following a school of sharks, they sensed something unusual. The sharks were behaving erratically, darting and circling as if evading a larger threat. With growing unease, the fishermen realized they were not the only ones hunting. As night fell, the water churned violently around their boat. The crew felt a massive presence beneath them, far larger than any shark they had encountered. Suddenly, the creature surfaced, revealing a monstrous figure unlike anything they had seen before. With jagged, blood-streaked teeth and a body scarred from countless battles, the beast appeared to be a predator even sharks feared. After a harrowing struggle, the fishermen managed to capture photographic evidence before the creature disappeared into the depths. Scientists who reviewed the images were left baffled. Some speculated it could be a mutated orca, a species known for hunting sharks, while others suggested it might be an undiscovered apex predator lurking in the deep. Is this a sign of something new and terrifying evolving in our oceans? Or could it be a hoax designed to stir intrigue? Whatever the truth, the fishermen are certain of one thing. There's a new terror in the depths, and it's unlike anything we've imagined. Number 15. Greenland sharks. Greenland sharks, which people also call gray sharks and girly sharks, are large sharks found around the Arctic Ocean and North Atlantic Ocean. Sometimes, they've even been spotted in the Caribbean. These sharks are believed to have the longest lifespan of all known vertebrate species, up to 500 years, and are also among the largest sharks we have today. They grow up to 14.1 feet long and tip the scales at up to 2,200 pounds. However, some sharks have been found measuring as long as 24 feet and weighing 3,100 pounds. Most Greenland sharks, though, are an average of 8 to 16 feet long and weigh around 880 pounds. Unlike other sharks that tend to be the same color, Greenland shark colors can vary. Some are light creamy gray, while others are black or brown. Most of their bodies are uniform in color, but some have streaks or spots on their backs. Greenland sharks are apex predators and mainly eat fish like herring, cod, flounder, and lumpfish. They also eat seals and will even consume other sharks. Smaller Greenland sharks mostly eat squid, while larger ones go after bigger prey like seals. When you compare their speed to other sharks, they are incredibly slow, moving at cruising speeds of up to 0.76 miles per hour. As a result, they typically feast on animals that are sleeping. Number 14. Wobbegong shark. The Wobbegong shark is the common name for about a dozen carpet sharks living in the shallow, temperate, and tropical waters of the eastern Indian Ocean and the western Pacific Ocean. It's believed that the name Wobbegong comes from the Aboriginal language in Australia, meaning shaggy beard. That might sound unusual, but wait until you learn what they look like. These 4.1-foot-long, bottom-dwelling sharks have small, weed-like whisker lobes around their jaws, which act as sensory barbs and provide them with camouflage to hide amongst rocks. When they hide, they can catch small fish that swim close to them with ease, thanks to their needle-like teeth positioned within powerful jaws. Most people wouldn't consider Wobbegong sharks dangerous to humans, but that doesn't mean they haven't attacked us. Swimmers, scuba divers, snorkelers, and surfers have reported being attacked by them when they got too close. There are at least 50 reports of unprovoked attacks. Fortunately, none of them have been fatal. While not deadly, a Wobbegong bite is still painful. Their small, sharp teeth can bite through wetsuit material, and they like to hold on. Once bitten, their teeth can be very difficult to remove from your skin. Number 13. Goblin shark. Goblin sharks aren't the most aesthetically pleasing sea creatures. They are rare, deep-sea sharks with a lineage dating back 125 million years, and they certainly look that old. They have flat, elongated snouts, jaws with nail-like teeth, and bodies measuring up to 13 feet long. However, some have also been captured measuring about 20 feet, which is a terrifying thought. Goblin sharks are described as benthopelagic, which means they live and feed at the bottom of the ocean. They can also be found in seamounts, submarine canyons, and continental slopes. Most of the time, they won't be found any higher than 330 feet and can dive down to 4,270 feet for short periods. As they're not fast swimmers, goblin sharks are considered ambush predators. Their oily livers and low-density flesh make them buoyant, so they can simply drift toward their prey without making too many movements until they catapult their jaws forward to snatch it up. Most of the time, they feast on teleost fish like dragonfishes and rattails. However, they also eat crustaceans, isopods, decapods, and cephalopods. We know quite a lot about goblin sharks, but we don't know everything. Scientists haven't been able to study a pregnant female yet, so we don't know how big females grow or how long they live. Number 12. Pink see-through fantasia. The pink see-through fantasia, also known as the swimming sea cucumber, headless chicken monster, and headless chickenfish, is perhaps one of the most mysterious and unusual sea creatures you'll ever hear about. Their coloring is definitely their most distinct feature, as they are bright pink. Larger varieties tend to be more red or brown in color. They have semi-transparent, round, bulbous bodies and large interior sails, and some are even bioluminescent. Their bioluminescent capabilities are thought to deter predators by making them harder to target in the dark depths. They're so unusual that they almost look like the creation of a fantasy author. These creatures play a crucial role in the ocean's ecosystem, as their feeding behavior helps recycle nutrients back into the seafloor. These swimming sea cucumbers have webbed swimming fins that help them swim from the surface of the seafloor and travel about 3,000 feet up to enter the water column. Interestingly, their transparent bodies make it possible to see their internal organs, adding to their otherworldly appearance. They'll then travel to new feeding grounds. This action also helps them avoid predators. Most pink see-through fantasia live in the ocean's benthic zone, and they can be found worldwide in various regions. They spend most of their time in the water column but can occasionally be found on the seafloor eating. Here, they use their tentacles to push food into their mouths. Scientists are still studying these fascinating creatures to better understand their behaviors and the full extent of their ecological importance. Number 11. Black swallower fish. Can you imagine eating something multiple times your own mass? It would seem impossible, but that's the magic power of the black swallower fish. This deep-sea fish can swallow prey up to 10 times its own mass and twice its size in just one bite. Even though they only grow up to around 4 inches long, with a maximum known length of 10 inches, they will happily feast on creatures 8 inches long. They also don't waste any time chewing and instead just swallow their food whole. It saves time, I guess. Black swallowers are most commonly found around North America, happily living 10,000 feet below the ocean surface, where most people can't bother them. And it's probably a good thing most of us will never see them in person because they are scary looking. Despite their small size, they have long heads, big jaws, blackish-brown skin, and no scales. That's right, they are scaleless fish. They also have a set of sharp teeth. They don't use these for chewing, but they come in handy for clamping down on food and shoveling it into their gobs. They also, of course, have very large stomachs. When they're full of food, their stomachs extend so far out of their bodies that they appear transparent, and you can see what they've eaten. Number 10. Red handfish. Red handfish kind of look like a creature you'd see on a Pokemon card. They are critically endangered fish from the coastal waters of eastern Tasmania and live on sandy areas on top of and surrounding rocks. They get the name handfish from their ability to use their fins as hands. They use them to perform a walking motion along the seafloor, and it is hilarious to watch. Red handfish are benthic, which means they hang out around sandy and rocky parts of the seafloor. Here, they eat worms and small crustaceans. Interestingly, their quirky walking motion helps them blend into their surroundings, making it easier to ambush unsuspecting prey. Scientists have observed that the handfish rarely swim, conserving energy and avoiding predators by sticking to the seafloor. They are believed to have at least 2 color varieties, one with red embellishments and one that's red all over. Both types grow no larger than about 5 inches long. The limited range of their habitat further adds to their vulnerability, as small disruptions can have catastrophic effects on their population. There are believed to be fewer than 1,000 red handfish left in the ocean, which is kind of sad. The species finds it challenging to survive due to poaching for pets and low reproductive and dispersal rates. Efforts are underway to establish captive breeding programs, which may provide a lifeline for this unique species. It might not be long until there are none left, although there's a recovery plan for the species in place. With growing awareness, researchers hope to turn the tide and secure a future for these peculiar creatures. Number 9. Leafy sea dragons. Even if you've seen a leafy sea dragon before, it's pretty likely that you wouldn't know you have. They are the masters of camouflage. They have leaf-like appendages all over their bodies and look just like seaweed floating through the water. Predators have a hard time spotting them, and that's exactly how the leafy sea dragons like it. Leafy sea dragons are from the same family as seahorses and can be found in Australia. More specifically, they prefer to live around the southern coastline all the way over to Western Australia. In these areas, you'll most likely find them blending in with kelp-covered rocks below low tide. But if you manage to identify one, you'll see they do have sea creature-like features. They have a pipe-like snout and a small mouth, which they use to feast on small crustaceans, mysids, and plankton. Their looks are definitely one of the most interesting things about leafy sea dragons, but their reproduction process is absolutely wild too. Males carry the eggs fixed underneath their tails, and this is where they hatch. Females typically know that the males are ready to receive their eggs when the lower part of their tail starts to wrinkle. Females then lay up to 250 eggs onto a brood patch beneath the male's tails, and the babies will be born within 6 to 8 weeks. Number 8. Squid worm. You would think that we had discovered all species long ago, but we're still finding new ones all the time. The squid worm is one of the more recent discoveries. Marine biologists found it for the first time in the Celebes Sea in 2007, where it lived in an area of the Coral Triangle in the Philippines. Ever since it was found, it has intrigued researchers worldwide, mainly because it took such a long time to find and due to its unique body structure. Squid worms grow up to nearly 4 inches long, which is actually quite large for a marine worm. They have squid-like tentacles covering their bodies, weird appendages that are even longer than their bodies, and 8 arms that they use for breathing. They also have 2 long appendages for feeding and 6 organs on their heads to help them taste and smell. You might also notice paddle-like features on their bodies, which function as propulsion paddles to help them swim upright. Scientists are deeply intrigued by all these random appendages and believe they may have a deeper meaning than what they appear to be used for. They wonder whether these worms might exist as transitional species between 2 different environments. Number 7. Blobfish. The blobfish once won the Ugly Animal Preservation Society's competition for the world's ugliest animal, and honestly, you won't disagree with the verdict. Blobfish are deep-sea fish that look normal in the deep waters surrounding Australia, Tasmania, and New Zealand. They live down to around 3,900 feet, where the pressure is up to 120 times more than at sea level. However, they definitely turn ugly when they're caught as bycatch in bottom trawling nets and brought to the surface. The damage caused by decompression makes them appear blob-like, and they lose all form. Sadly, they also die when they come to the surface, even if they're released. Most fish have gas-filled cavities such as swim bladders, but blobfish don't. If they did, the cavities would collapse due to the extreme pressure in their preferred environment. Instead, blobfish have jelly-like flesh and very little in the way of a skeleton because they use water pressure to provide their structural support. Once you remove them from a deep-pressure environment, of course they're going to look like they're barely holding it together. That's because they are. Number 6. Northern stargazer. The northern stargazer fish, found from North Carolina to New York, isn't exactly the most attractive fish. The blackish-brown fish with white spots and dark horizontal stripes grows up to 22 inches long and has a prominent flat forehead. It also has a weird amount of body mass near its mouth, making it look like its face is pointing upward, hence the name northern stargazer. Their faces aren't positioned this way by accident. They hide on the sandy bottoms of coastal waters and position their faces upward so they can see the prey above them. Their strategy of ambush hunting is further aided by their ability to bury most of their body in the sand, leaving only their eyes and mouth exposed for maximum stealth. The tops of their heads also have electric organs so they can shock prey if they wish to. This shocking mechanism is not only used to incapacitate prey, but can also deter predators, giving the stargazer a unique defensive advantage. These organs are located around each of their eyes and consist of about 200 layers of electric tissue. The fish's feeding behavior is lightning fast, with the ability to suck in prey almost instantly once it's within range. When they're ready to reproduce, they lay eggs on the bottom of bays, which float to the surface. The larvae grow up to about 0.28 inches upon hatching before they slowly transform into fish. Their electric organs develop when they're about half an inch long. When this happens, they swim to the bottom of the water and grow into adults. Their fascinating adaptations make them a perfect example of evolution catering to the challenges of a sandy, coastal habitat. Number 5. Japanese spider crab. Japanese spider crabs are definitely one of the most mysterious underwater creatures. They're marine crabs from waters surrounding Japan and are believed to have the largest leg span of any arthropod we know about. Their legs reach lengths of 12.1 feet from claw to claw, while their bodies might grow up to around 16 inches. They can also weigh a whopping 42 pounds, so yeah, they aren't exactly small, and they sure do look ferocious. The good news is that they're really not. These orange crabs with white spots are allegedly quite gentle, even though they look like they could snap your limbs with their giant claws. Crab fisheries consider them quite desirable, and they're a delicacy in Japan. However, conservation efforts are currently trying to protect their populations from overfishing. If you were going to find these crabs anywhere, they would mainly be around the Japanese island of Honshu's southern coast. However, some have also been found around Taiwan. Most adults live at depths of up to 1,970 feet, and they hang out in vents and holes in the depths of the ocean. They're also most comfortable when waters are between 43 and 61 degrees Fahrenheit. Number 4. Frogfish. Frogfish, a type of anglerfish, are small, short, and stocky fish that live in tropical and subtropical oceans worldwide, except in the Mediterranean Sea. They're usually covered in spinules and other little appendages, and these help them camouflage themselves from both prey and predators. Some frogfish can even change color to help them blend in with whatever algae they're hiding in. Their ability to mimic their surroundings is so precise that they can resemble coral, sponges, or even rocks, making them masters of disguise in the underwater world. When they're on the hunt for food to eat, they lie in wait, move slowly, and then strike in just 6 milliseconds. Their food doesn't stand a chance. Interestingly, they use a modified dorsal fin called an elusive as a lure, wiggling it to attract unsuspecting prey right into their mouths. These stocky fish grow up to about 15 inches long and have scaleless, bare bodies. Their bodies have up to 23 vertebrae. They also have weird-looking upward-pointed mouths with strange-looking palatal teeth. Most frogfish are brightly colored with a multitude of colors like white, yellow, red, green, and black. Some even have spots. Researchers don't know much about their reproductive behavior, but it's believed most species are free-spawning. The females will lay their eggs in the water, and the males will come in and fertilize them. The female is always much larger than the male, and her abdomen swells up with 180,000 eggs before she lays them. Despite their bright colors, frogfish are often overlooked by divers due to their incredible ability to stay still for hours, blending seamlessly with their surroundings. Number 3. Ribbon eel. Out of all the sea creatures you would want to encounter as a scuba diver, the ribbon eel would likely be near the top of your list. The blue ribbon eel, in particular, is an incredibly beautiful creature with its blue and yellow elongated body and tiny dragon-like head. They grow up to about 4 feet long and have yellow dorsal fins set on a blue body. They start life completely black with a yellow dorsal fin and transition to blue and yellow as they age. Aside from their coloring, ribbon eels are noticeable by their weird-looking flared nostrils and gaping mouths. They also have little filaments on their lower jaws and one on their snouts. Interestingly, ribbon eels are protandric hermaphrodites, meaning they start life as males and eventually transition to females as they mature, with older females displaying a striking yellow coloration. Their diet mainly consists of small fish, which they ambush using their sharp teeth and lightning-fast reflexes. Despite their fierce hunting tactics, ribbon eels are relatively shy creatures, preferring to remain hidden within their burrows for most of the day. They rely on their vibrant coloring and distinctive appearance to both attract prey and ward off potential predators. Most people don't see the entire body of a ribbon eel while scuba diving. Instead, they see the head poking out of a hole in a rock or a cave. If they see you, they'll quickly retreat into where they came from. Because they are so beautiful, many experienced aquarium owners try to keep them as pets, but they are incredibly complex and require special care. They need a large tank, no tank mates, and plenty of hiding holes for them to hide in with sand. Many owners also fill their tanks with cave-like structures and PVC pipes and learn very quickly to secure the tank lid, since they can easily escape. Number 2. Frilled shark. Frilled sharks are the marine creatures of your nightmares. They are prehistoric-looking creatures living in the open ocean's dark depths and grow up to nearly 7 feet long. They get their name from their frilly gill slits that look pretty different from other sea creatures and sharks. Very little is known about their ecology because they're rarely encountered in the wild. However, we have a fair idea of their predatory style. They are active predators and can lunge at prey and swallow it whole, even if it's a large fish, squid, or shark. Remarkably, their long, eel-like bodies and highly flexible jaws allow them to tackle prey up to half their size, making them a formidable hunter despite their slow movements. Researchers have noted their rows of needle-like, backward-facing teeth, each row lined with around 300 teeth, designed to ensure that anything caught in their jaws cannot escape. Unlike most sharks, they don't chase down prey. Instead, they rely on ambush tactics, lurking in the shadows of the deep. Their gestation period is thought to be one of the longest in the animal kingdom, potentially lasting up to 3.5 years, which might explain why sightings of young frilled sharks are extremely rare. These creatures are sometimes called living fossils because their anatomy has remained relatively unchanged for millions of years. They swim through the water in a serpentine fashion and have long teeth with sharp points they can use to snag the soft bodies of their prey. They're not fussy about what they eat. They'll basically go after anything they like the look of and believe they can overpower. We don't actually know how many frilled sharks exist, but they occasionally end up as accidental bycatch. No fisheries actually actively target them for food. Some experts think that because we rarely see them, and since they are sometimes captured, they are near threatened. Number 1. Nudibranch. Nudibranch, also known as sea slugs, are marine gastropods with radular feeding organs. No shells, no gills, and no mantle cavities that you would typically find on other mollusks. They have random growths on their bodies called serrata. These are defensive mechanisms that discharge nematocysts from the food they eat and are also used in gas exchange. Sea slugs also have weird antenna-like organs on their heads. Interestingly, these structures, called rhinophores, are highly sensitive and help the nudibranch detect chemicals in the water, essentially functioning as their sense of smell. What makes them even more fascinating is their ability to absorb toxins from their prey and use these chemicals for their own defense, making them almost untouchable to predators. Some species are even capable of storing chloroplasts from the algae they consume, allowing them to harness sunlight for energy, a process called kleptoplasty. Their bright, vibrant colors are not just for show. They serve as a warning to potential predators that they're toxic or distasteful. Most nudibranch grow up to about 16 inches long, and they're most commonly found in shallow waters worldwide, where they find the most invertebrates to eat. Their favorite food is sea anemones. Out of all sea slugs, these ones would have to be the most noticeable. It's hard not to notice their white bodies with subtle black stripes on their body and a little fluffy growth at their tail end. We certainly have some weird and wonderful animals out there, and most people are probably glad they won't encounter many of these in person. Have you ever come across any of these mysterious sea creatures? So, what was it like? Share your story in the comments below, and don't forget to check out the other cool videos on the screen. See you next time.